Kalima Shakti Day, like, and pretended to tear each other's hearts out, as children do.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and this week I'm joined by fellow Bafflegabbers Ian Whittington.
Bollocks.
And Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello. We
write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. How are my teas, Ian Whittington? Did they...
I don't really pay attention. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. Good. I've been practicing all week.
But it sounds weird. Like, you have to enunciate it. It sounds even weirder. Like, I think you'd rather me just say Whittington.
It's just... I don't know why you make such a big deal out of it.
It's just this thing I do.
I first heard about it last week when Ian said something about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Did we not say your last name right?
So, if I had to put my money somewhere, I would have bet that the WhatsApp audio thing would have been the thing that was discussed on Discord. No, it was what my mum thinks about how my last name is pronounced by Americans. I would have guessed that was the divisive thing.
But it's also true for Atkinson, right? Like, instead of Atkinson. It's also true for Watkins instead of Watkins. Like it is very much an American thing to soften those sharp letters so that we can say words quicker. Like, it's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a thing that Americans do.
It's lazy.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But see, I don't have all the negative connotations with the word lazy that a lot of people do. I think lazy is underrated. So that's
man,
me.
I'll fight you on that. There's a difference between being efficient with your energy and lazy.
Is there? Is there though?
Yes.
I think there are times though when you should be
definitively.
Lazy.
100% there are. We should all be lazy every once in a while.
That's why people have heart attacks.
You don't have to be lazy.
That's why people have heart attacks and strokes and stuff, though, because they...
Words are important.
Yes.
Words are important. Like, so lazy has a negative connotation for a reason.
Lazy's connotation has dominated the word enough that you don't want it ever used.
100%. Okay. 100%. Right. Yeah.
If you're relaxing, you're being lazy. I mean, so
would you say, I love these conversations. Listen, let's just do the whole show about these kind of conversations. So would you say somebody is lazing around is negative?
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's relaxing.
I think that's edging into... It's not as bad, but it's edging into that area.
It's just the word. It's just those sounds, right?
They're the same.
Those sounds have the negative connotation. Lazy means something bad.
Yeah,
this is why I love words so much, because they're symbols, and there's such an interesting thing where this is why, like, whenever someone makes fun of someone else for not using a specific word or for saying whatever, it's like words have power in our own hearts and minds. Like, there's this thing. And so when a word takes on that power for us, we won't say it, and we all have that somewhere. And yes, it's just sounds, but at the end of the day, we're all making decisions on what sounds we want to make because of the symbols that they're related to in our hearts and in the hearts of others. It's a really interesting kind of discovery to think about, because it's just noises. They're just noises,
All words are noises, Aaron.
I don't even know who said lazy Americans the first time, but I know that's where a lot of the negative connotation comes from.
Yeah.
For us, and but it doesn't bother me if I'm being lazy on the weekend. Fuck off, I'm being lazy.
And Ian's like, I will go to the pool, but you will not see me on the lazy river. Like, I will not.
It's the relaxing river. That river is working damn hard to please people, and everyone keeps calling it lazy. It is working the hardest of anyone. It gets entered more than any other body.
All right, let's leave this conversation behind and get into the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sinning them, how we felt about the stuff we are sinning in general. Start off in commercial sins world with Chef Boyardee, the rolling ravioli can ad. This was sinned by Daniel Cordoso. Daniel coming through with his first commercial sin. I don't know that I'd ever seen this commercial before. That's not a surprise for me. But have you guys seen this one, like, in your commercial watching?
I vaguely remembered it, but
I've seen it, but I have no idea why, when, where, or how, because we don't have this brand in England. So I must have seen it on the front of a YouTube video or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
But it rang a bell.
You don't have Chef Boyardee? It's not a worldwide sensation.
I'm going to put my foot in it now, and then everyone's going to chime in and say, "Oh, I have it every week."
Googling it.
Is this like
I've never
Walkers
seen
or
it.
whatever your lays are? Like there's a different version of Chef Boyardee?
It could be rebranded, yeah, but I've never seen it in.
Yeah.
The shops that I shop in, I have not actively seen it with my eyeballs. It does not mean it is
Did
not
you
anywhere
eat,
in the country.
canned ravioli growing up? Is that a thing?
Very, very rarely.
Okay.
This would be if Mum was really pushed for time. It would be, okay, something in the microwave.
I had canned ravioli probably 4 times a week growing up. It was like my favorite thing. Just the pasta and I just loved it for whatever reason.
I liked it as a kid. It's
Yeah.
disgusting now.
Right? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, because my daughter eats SpaghettiOs, which is Franco-America, but or whatever. But it's similar. It's still basically the same type of taste and texture.
I am now hesitant to go near canned food after a over-salted condensed soup incident that I'm only a tiny bit exaggerating. I think I can still taste it.
It's
That's
great.
so gross.
I always have a salty taste.
Have you ever seen people open old Chef Boyardee cans? I've just seen this on Twitter and stuff. People have a video of opening like a 3-year-old Spider-Man pasta thing, and it's like
Does
black.
it keep? Oh, I would imagine they'd keep.
Oh, no.
Tin
I don't
cans
know
are
how
supposed to
old they
keep
are,
stuff.
Tin cans should be
Might
fine.
be like 10 years or something. I don't know. I'm just telling you.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
Let's check it out. So what about this one, guys? Jonathan, kick us off. What are you thinking about this one?
It was very funny. I already gave my opinion on Chef Boyardee. Although I do have adult friends who still eat it, and I don't understand. You do you.
There are other options.
Yeah, you're an adult. You could make
A peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Heck
Or that,
yeah.
There's so many
or
great
just-
options. Ramen noodles, man.
It takes just as long to boil pasta as it does to make a can of Chef Boyardee. The Battle of Wills. I like the whole thing about the Battle of Wills that would consume between the mother and the daughter in the grocery store, because holy shit, that does happen in real life a lot. I'm sure Aaron's experienced so many times.
I didn't think Daniel wrote this. I would have bet that you did. From that initial
No,
scene.
but he's going to be a good dad if he ever chooses to be one. He's got those instincts already.
Yeah.
I like that we're going by chef now. That was really fun.
It's so true, though. It's so true. Is this what we say? No.
And this might be my favorite "it is not" of all time, where it's like, boy, this is good. It is not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Also, Aaron thought he was being funny when we were. He was being funny. He didn't just think he was being funny, but we were going through.
Shots
We were
fired.
going through these commercial sets edits, and he just kept being, "I like blah blah blah. This is a print."
Yes. No, there were a series of commercial sins, right, and this was the first one I reviewed, and at the end I was like, I actually like Chef Boyardee ravioli. This is a print. And then whatever the other products were the rest of the day, it was just, I actually like,
I like wicker baskets.
I like Rocket Mortgage or whatever, this is a print. So yeah, fun times. Ian, what about you?
Can't really comment on the brand. Love the video, but I do.
I don't think you have them there. I think you're right. It looks like it's just in America. So.
Vindication.
Can you imagine if that was in Italy, though? Can you imagine going to an Italian grocery store?
I think they'd put it in the violent weapons section, and it's just there to kill people with.
They have violent weapons sections in the Italy stores.
If they accidentally receive a shipment of canned goods, then yes, they'll open
make
one up,
Yes,
especially. Yeah. But what if that door didn't have a cat flap in it? Then that is an end to that can's journey. That's a really bad ending.
Yeah. It's true. The so close to pitching a perfect game made me laugh, or perching a pitchy game, depending on how you want to do it. The whole thing about needing kids to learn how to open cans the old fashioned, the old man sin, where it's back in my day I was like this is so good. So I really enjoyed that one as well. And then there was a discussion that happened behind the scenes, which is what we do here, about the word shrink, because both Chris and I had never heard of this word before. But apparently when a store ends up with less inventory than they should, it's called shrink. And so,
you're saying that meaning of the word. You've heard the word shrink before.
what is this shrink? How do I pronounce?
Chris is going to be listening to this, going, "Hey, man, I'm not going with you on that. I know what shrink is."
I've heard the word shrink.
That is very specific to retail. You would have a shrinkage budget.
I had never heard of it either.
And
I had
it's
to
any
ask
like
Daniel.
wastage or anything that's been stolen.
I've had emails trying to tell me how to use my shrinkage budget, but that's usually my spam
TV
folder.
Sins.
No, but I'd never heard shrink used in that term. I was curious.
Yeah.
Is that a British thing too? Do you call it shrink on?
Oh,
Because
100%.
you did
Yeah,
It's
retail.
just a retail thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have internal and external shrink. Internal is anything
Wow.
that your colleagues are stealing, and external is anything that the public is stealing.
Wow. Are those the only two options? Is it possibly accidental?
It falls into one of those two, because it
Okay.
could still be that the employee has accidentally done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how you would accidentally just lose a can of ravioli, but maybe you would.
Yeah.
Well, running it over with a forklift. He's
I mean, what would-
accidental, but
Yeah, what if what if the food is, we find out it's sentient, then you're going to have to come up with another shrink, like a
Yeah.
middle shrink or something.
murder shrink.
You're gonna have
Wait,
to.
no, murder shrink is like a movie.
You'll have to see a shrink at that point. All right, let's move into TV sins. We are heading through Moon Knight right now, so we've got a couple episodes of Moon Knight. We'll start with The Friendly Type. This was a Cardoso Dicer script. Daniel and I are writing on this one. I guess I'll start us off by restating I really am enjoying Moon Knight at this point. No spoilers on how I eventually end up feeling about it, but I think this is episode 3, right? We're doing 3 and 4 this week. So episode 3, still enjoying it quite a bit. My thing while watching this episode is I'm getting increasingly more angry about the reflections. And there's an interesting thing that happens here where there is an actual real explanation for what's going on here, right? Like the show could fill us in at least subtle or understandable ways so we're not confused as an audience as to why the rules seem so sporadic and different and those kind of things. Or the show could, if they wanted to, keep the rules consistent so that it just felt less confusing as to what was going on. And I would argue that the Mark character, or the Steven character, I guess, who starts seeing Mark, would have consistent ways that he's seeing Mark in these ways, even if it's not obviously real, right? That it's happening in a psychological space. I just think the show doesn't do a very good job of helping us along understanding how these reflections work, why, they can be this way and not this way, and why they're showing up everywhere, even in, surfaces that aren't typically reflective. So that kept getting annoying to me. The other really annoying part of this episode was the trial of the gods, where it's like, the phenomenal.
He is devious.
Phenomenal cosmic power, itty bitty legal space.
Legal argument, yeah.
What is
Case
going on?
has to be airtight. Ish.
It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And then one of my new trope annoyances really showed its face during this episode, and it is the show your face trope, where in an extreme moment the character has to take off whatever mask they're wearing or whatever, so we can see exactly how upset they are or angry they are or whatever. And it's such a visual thing. It has nothing to do with real life.
I mean, we got through like a year and a half of people wearing masks, not knowing what they were doing.
That's right.
That. We didn't give.
That's right. What about you guys? How are you feeling at this point in Moon Knight, Ian?
Yeah, I was still lukewarm at this point. I think I still am. I think the only episode that really stood out for me was episode 4. Should I jump ahead into episode 4 or save
It's
that?
kind of weird, right? Because we're talking about it next. Just save it. Just save it.
But yeah, this one, I was still just getting super frustrated with like you said, like the mirror stuff, the Steven stuff, the damn it, show me some Moon Knight stuff. Like, for a show that's called Moon Knight, there is a fierce lackage of Moon Knight in it. I remember being frustrated because you and Danae, I remember, like, were loving it and like really digging it, really like, because I was still in the States and we were watching it together. And it was great to see you two enjoy it. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not enjoying this?
Why am I this way?
Broken? Why am I like
What
this?
did Chris say the other day on Slack? Something about like, I wish I had these other people's eyes when they're enjoying these things.
It's absolutely it. I want to experience what you're experiencing because this isn't hitting me the same way. But In terms of the sins, 4G of evidence was beautiful. BPS was incredible. I don't know which one of my friends needs to hear this, but if I'm ever in a fight to the death, please do not throw a literal knife at me. Which is just a great piece of all-round advice. Summon the Scoop was beautiful, and I just remember how happy Aaron was, and he had to message us immediately when he came up with Philip at the glass station. Because when he does a satisfactory pun, he's got to tell us first.
Guys, it just feels so good.
It
just feels so good when you find it, you know? Like it's one of those things where like if wordplay is something you enjoy, then you know this feeling of I know there's something there that's going to be perfect. And you kind of go through options in your head, and then you just, you know, get a fill up at the glass station. It appears and it's there.
The next video has exactly the same thing, exactly the same punny word situation that I was so satisfied that it worked out. And we will get to that.
Yeah. What about you, Jonathan?
I like the show overall, but I definitely don't love it. But I'm enjoying it. It's probably somewhere in kind of like of all the Disney shows we've had so far, it's probably somewhere in the middle for me. The reflection stuff irritates the crap out of me. So it's not just an Aaron thing, as someone in the commenter said, might be. And in fact, and I know we're not talking about the last couple episodes, but when you find out what's going on, like why, what that deal is, what the situation is, it gets even weirder. Like I'm even more like, what the hell?
Correct.
Like this makes no sense.
The show doesn't do a good job of giving you the foundation you need to have a proper perspective on what's going on, in my opinion.
As far as the sins, who wrote this one? Was this Cardoso and
this was
Aaron?
Daniel and I, yeah.
Awesome. You guys did a great job. Hieroglyphs or it didn't happen was maybe the thing that had me laugh. Just the term of Ethan's Hawkeye, I thought was perfect. And then, of course, there was always time to yank it. Just hearing Aaron say that. By the way, speaking of Aaron saying things, it's sometimes the editors forget to bleep out words. And I love it when it's on a TV Sins video because you get to hear Aaron say stuff like fork off or
what the shirt.
What the shirt. It's
tired of this shirt.
It's amazing. I feel like for Patreon or something, we need to release some of that video, some of that audio.
Release the Flanders cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, you guys, but I'll put that in the notes. I'll be like, you guys forgot to bleep this, and thank you for forgetting to bleep it.
That has been this unexpected benefit of doing that. Has been you will not miss it. You will not miss it when a swear goes unbleeped because it sounds so dumb and so weird.
And Ian and I are so desensitized to cursing. It's like we'll just
can miss it. We've
Jeremy said fuck 4
totally
times.
Miss it. I'll miss it. It'll be in an outtake, and I miss it. It just
totally. It's been an interesting decision to make to do it that way. I don't know if we want to go into depth here on, kind of where that comes from, but I don't know if, was this in the actual episode where we were talking about words as symbols and noises or whatever? Maybe in the outtakes.
It's somewhere.
So, I'm well aware that these are just noises, right? That they aren't embedded with any meaning, but I'm around people enough in my life who do take pain at those words, right? Who hear those words and go, oof, don't like it, that I just don't use them in my day-to-day life, right? And so for me, when I'm making the decision to play this narrator character who is going to use those words, instead of me using those words and then training myself to use them in normal conversation, I've kept them as these other words. And what's funny is I will say forking and shirt every once in a while accidentally in real life. So I know that there is this weird habit thing that does develop. And so that was where the decision came from. Basically, I don't want to come to a place where I'm making people uncomfortable in my life. And so I did that. But it has those nice little added benefits of being that way.
For sure.
So interesting stuff. All right, let's move on to the next episode. Ian, you seemed eager to talk about this, and you wrote on it, so you get to kick us off. This was a Hughes Whittington script, Moon Knight, The Tomb. So what did you think about this one?
This is easily my favorite episode of the whole season because
I think you're right. Yeah,
it's so rare Nowadays, back in my day, this happened all the time. The Enterprise got blown up in the opening credits, and you were like, "What the fuck?" But for a show to even when Mark, Stephen, whatever gets shot, that wasn't super duper shocking because I was like, I've seen worse. Like he will absolutely heal himself and come back from that. But when he falls into the water and it's like a drowning situation, I'm like, okay. And then we wake up in the asylum wherever we are, and I'm like, okay. And then we pan around and see all of the patients and a different Ethan Hawke, and I was like, we are doing something. I don't know what we're doing, but I love it so much. And then the different rooms, Stephen seeing Mark, the other tomb, and then to where it's coming up, the hippo lady. I was like, this is fucking nuts. What is going on here? I need to know what's happening. And 5 and 6 didn't deliver how I wanted them to. It didn't go where I wanted it to. And I don't think it could have gone where I would have ended up being happy, because it still has to be Marvel, it still has to be Disney, it still has to do the things. But for that little pocket of 10 minutes at the end of the episode, I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you say that, because I don't know that this takes place in the same universe. Like, that's the weird thing, right?
It's such a dumb argument, but I think it does, because Moon Knight appears in the opening Marvel thing for Ms. Marvel. So I think it is in the same universe. It may never be referenced, but it is in the same world.
They added Moon Knight to the credits on...
Yes!
But they didn't have him in his show.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Which we should absolutely send if we ever.
Yes.
I mean,
100%.
you mean if we send Miss Marvel?
If that were ever happened. It's definitely in the same universe, because there are, in the background, there are posters for like blip recovery groups, that kind of thing. It's just not prominent at all in the show, which I love. There's
do too.
No attempt to like really tie it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Ian, was that it? Was that all you had to say about this episode?
Yeah, because the rest of it sucks. But like, I couldn't care less about like the discount Indiana Jones stuff. Finding that, like, it's the tomb of Alexander the Great. Great.
What are you talking? Are you talking about the movie that they're watching? Or are you talking about like actually when they find the tomb?
No, I mean like the actual episode when they find the tomb and they're doing all. I don't care. As soon as we slip into the fake movie and then the asylum, I'm all in, because that has got my attention. But the first half, I'm like, skip.
Yeah. I guess I can go next. I think this is the best episode of the series. At least for me, I found it the most engaging and energizing. I think the reveal at the end is the most TV thing about this entire series. And I say that in a good way. Like, I like it when these shows try to be television shows, and because the rest of this really could have been a movie. Moon Knight could have been a movie, but in this moment, for this episode, you go, here's what makes it fun for it to be serialized and episodic in this way. And so I really did enjoy that. I loved I already mentioned the belaboring pun, but I love it not just for the pun, but it's one of those great sins where there's a clear excess of knowledge from one of our writers. In this case,
I should have mentioned that, shouldn't
Mr.
I?
Whittington, who is a rock climber. So talk about that a little bit, since you haven't.
It's fun. Like, it's an easy go-to thing, because I don't know that I've ever seen a movie get it right other than 127 Hours, which you really hope gets it wrong. Right? Because he gets everything wrong. But it's just such first, they're belaying, but they're abseiling, and it's just her waiting to get to the bottom, and then I'll belay you down, and then fucking walks off, like, so that he can just tumble down to the bottom. Like,
what do those words mean? What does abseiling and belay technically mean?
So abseiling is just descending. So it's the opposite of the climbing, and you were just lowering yourself down with a rope. Belaying is the act of taking the rope in, and somebody is climbing up and down. So what should have happened is that she abseils down to the bottom, and then he ties himself in and climbs down, and she is belaying at the bottom and lowering him down. So if he
giving him slack,
giving him slack, exactly. Yeah. So if he was to fall, he wouldn't fall; he would just hover there, because she's belaying at the bottom, but she just fucks off, just leaves.
So is abseiling the same thing as repelling, or is that a totally?
It's exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah. So repelling is just the Americanized version of the French
Well, and repelling,
word. Absolutely.
So like I find Chef Boyardee ravioli abseiling now that I'm older.
Yes, that's it.
Does it work that way?
Yeah, that's it. If I had a can of it, I would throw it cross country.
I don't rock climb and stuff, but because I don't like heights. But
It's fair.
I've had friends that rappel. I feel like rappelling is typically that you're not actually climbing. Like that you're just
No,
going.
you don't
to the,
have to be climbing. Yeah, you can rappel off of a bridge and just be
Like, yeah.
hanging in midair. But and then somebody else would be doing the belaying if you didn't have any control of your descent.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun to see all of that. I was like, knowledge, yes! Like 4 people with it.
Yeah. No, it's great. I love it when that kind of stuff happens. There are 2 examples of that. One is where we just have that knowledge because it's our thing, and so we get to kind of go off. And the other is when we actually take the time to research something more than we expected. Like we'll do a simple Google search to check on a sin, and all of a sudden, 15 minutes later, it's like, wow, this crazy world of rock climbing I never knew existed, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I also really liked the symbol of a waiter serving a piping hot plate of 3 flaming hot dogs. Anytime we can misunderstand what hieroglyphs are, that's amazing. And then, of course, the Union Jackson was a lot of fun. So, yeah, enjoyed that.
Tortured over that one. That went back and forth and had a few different forms before we settled on that.
Yeah, kind of the behind the scenes of that. The 3 of us, because I was reviewing on this. I think that was during the review process. Well, I think it was all through the process.
Yeah. And all 3 of us were in the same room. Me, you, and Danae were all... There's something here about union jacking and jacking off and trying to work so hard on a sex joke.
That's what we do. That's our job. Yeah. Jonathan, what about you?
Wasn't there a Union Jack set in Kingsman too? Have we had like several Union Jack?
That was my factual sin of they call it a Union Jack, but it's the Union flag unless it's
that's
C.
right. That's right.
So that was just a factual thing. I wasn't being funny.
Gotcha. I also want to point out that Ian forgot to mention the most accurate portrayal of rock climbing is William Shatner in Star Trek V.
Indeed. Sorry.
Yeah,
How could
absolutely.
I? Closely followed by...
Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
How accurate is Cliffhanger?
He's probably
Have you seen Cliffhanger, Ian?
20 years.
I'm just really curious. I love Cliffhanger, but not because I like to watch the rock climbing. I just think it's a great movie. But Moon Knight episode 4, yes, my favorite episode as well. I definitely like it better than the 2 that follow. But this and maybe the pilot or maybe the first episode are kind of up there for best. As far as the send, bringing your chest to a gunfight, or that's actually how it ended, I guess. Because you started off like bringing
bringing the ceremonial axe thing to a gunfight, and then bringing your chest to a gunfight, which I stole from. I just watched for some reason the West Side Story video, and it was what was the sin in that? It was like bringing
your chest to a knife fight.
Bringing your chest to a knife fight, and I said I'm going to rip this off. Well,
because he leads with his chest when he gets stabbed. It's just like goes into the knife. It's like what are you doing? Yeah.
And the other thing I'll mention, just that talking about the actor that got the call for playing Stephen Grant, and he ended up being in the movie within the show.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
This is my big break.
Funny concept for sure.
He did all this research on Moon Knight, probably.
Yes,
I read all 80 comics. You're just doing this. That's all you're doing, man.
I did forget to mention my pun as well. The Tutankhamun Moon Knight. Which, when I was like, it's there, it's right there.
All right, I think we can move on to CinemaSins. Let's start with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. This was
Weird
an
parallel.
Atkinson-Watkins script, and yes, a very nice little parallel. So this is one of those movies where it's like, wait, we haven't done this one yet? How have we not done Temple of Doom yet? And it's probably at the top of that list when people request things we haven't done. It's like, how have you not done Temple of Doom yet?
We just did Raiders like a year and a half ago. Like it wasn't that long ago, really. Yeah. I was surprised when we had done Raiders.
So Jonathan, you wrote on this one with Chris. So give us some thoughts.
Yeah, just this was weird. I think this is the Indiana. Well, I mean, I've only seen Kingdom of Crystal Skull one time. I saw that in the theater. I've never watched it again. But I don't think Temple of Doom was one I had at least revisited in a long time. I'm not positive I had revisited it as an adult. Maybe I did, but probably if that's been like 20 years, because I was watching it and Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's probably somewhere in my top 10 or right outside of it. I think Last Crusade is an absolute blast. I think its only flaw is that it's not Raiders. But I mean, it suffers from some of those other sequels.
Every single movie ever made except for Raiders of the Lost.
Yes.
Well, I just personally, I know it's your favorite, Aaron. I just personally don't think it's as good, and I think it has that. I think the only problem with Last Crusade, it has that sequel thing where it's got to like try to up the ante on scenes that happened in the original film and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Usually doesn't play great for me. But anyways, Temple of Doom is interesting. I think the last 30 minutes of this movie are really fun and really exciting. And that's the stuff I remember from it. Like I remember the minecart chase, and I remember what should be crocodiles. They're actually alligators that they shot in Florida, which I just learned
Amazing.
while doing. Yeah, because I called them crocodiles, and then Chris is like, "Oh, hold on a second." Like,
Of course, Chris picked that out. That is the most Chris thing ever.
I know, and I'm glad he did, because I would have been wrong, because that wasn't even something I thought to look up. You know, I'm like, they're clearly crocodiles, but like this movie makes a lot of weird choices. So Raiders of the Lost Ark is definitely like an homage or a play on like the 1930s and like 40s serials that like Lucas and Spielberg, you know, as kids would watch or whatever, and I think Raiders does a great job of capturing that like that fun, that entertainment, but then also updating it to a point and giving us like a strong female lead with Karen Allen's character and things like that. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom feels like this movie should exist like in the 30s or 40s. The Kate Capshaw character, Willie Scott, I hate that Capshaw gets blamed for this, because I don't think it's her fault at all. I've seen Capshaw in other things. She's fine. There's nothing wrong with her acting. I don't know that she's going to be, I would ever think of her as like one of the greatest of all time, but she's perfectly fine. Like there's nothing wrong with her. But Willie Scott is just, God damn it. I mean, just so fucking annoying. And it gets to the point where it's almost insulting, right? It's just like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what we're doing here. The whole thing about her breaking a nail, this crap, like, I mean, just none of it made any sense. And then also, how much of an asshole Indiana Jones is in this movie. Like, I mean, he's like a terrible person. I guess he's kind of moody and irritable and stuff. Like, I mean, he definitely has some qualities that are not awesome, I guess, in the other films. But like, you really kind of hate him in this movie, because almost everything he's doing is for selfish reasons. And then he also has a really weird relationship with a young boy named Short Round. That whole thing was played odd to me in 2022. Like that, I don't know. I could have been reading too much into that, but it still played. I know they weren't intending that to be something weird, but the way they did it ended up making it weird, I guess.
Definitely would have been done differently today, for sure.
I think so. Yes. I think so. And then, and the fact that he was going to like bang her, I guess, like, and on the bed next to Short Round, I couldn't figure out any of that. The dinner scene, which is the thing I probably remembered most as a kid. And I remember, and I wrote that scene about, or I think maybe it got, I wrote that scene, I think, about the way it plays now, because it's gross, but not because of what they're eating, but because of how much they're just making fun of the fact that they would eat these things. And I don't know. And people are going to call me woke or whatever. That's fine. But it played really weird to me. So yeah. It was uncomfortable. I just didn't remember any of that stuff. And even for a movie that, I mean, you could say it was at the time, but I mean, I don't know that, like I said, this movie didn't even feel like it fit in the 80s. It just felt like, for at least parts of it, those parts that were really uncomfortable, it just seemed weird that they went with those things. There's a lot of weird behind the scenes stuff about this movie, though. Spielberg the Twilight Zone movie had come out, and the whole thing about the death on the Twilight Zone, that had come out, and so he's out of the country shooting this. He doesn't even know if he's going to be able to go back to America, because he doesn't know how much of this is going to involve him, as far as the court case and stuff.
Wow.
Him and Lucas are both going through divorces.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff, and I almost feel like you can kind of see that just frustration and stuff on the screen, especially with the way some of these characters. I don't know. Maybe that's just me having a theory, but I know there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that probably caused some problems.
I don't think you're on an island. I think the whole internet shares some of those theories.
But yeah, for sure. But then, like I said, but then you get to like that last 30 minutes, and there's stuff that's fun before that. Don't get me wrong. It's still Indiana Jones. But then you get to like that last 30 minutes, and it's just like this really fun adventure, you know? And it's just like, why couldn't the movie have been this the whole time? So that was the stuff that I was interested in. Like going into it, I didn't think it was going to be hard to send, but I guess I just didn't realize how like inappropriate or how uncomfortable a lot of stuff in it was going to make me. It's still better than Kingdom of Crystal Skulls, but I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Raiders or Last Crusade. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah. Ian, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I think I've seen this movie once when I was like 9 or 10, so I remember nothing about it. The go-to would always be Raiders or Last Crusade. Always, even my dad has questionable taste in movies sometimes, but even he agrees that Temple of Doom sucks. He's like, no, I like that one. All I can remember is the monkey brain, of course, because that's... I don't know how little images like that managed to pop up despite the movie being terrible. Like those little moments still managed to permeate through all of culture.
That's partly, and then we mentioned that in the Sins. I mean, this and Gremlins ushered in the PG-13 rating, and it was for scenes like that. And there were, that was another thing. I think I even wrote a sin and we took it out where I was like, the fact that they rated this PG just blew my mind while I was watching it.
Absolutely wild. I didn't remember how Bond this film is trying to be for like a good chunk of it, especially the opening. I was like, am I in a Bond movie? Was this Spielberg pitching to direct a Bond film, and why would he need to pitch? Can he not just say, hey, I'd like to do that? Very, very strange. In terms of the sins, loved the dual reference. I can probably thank Jonathan for the dual reference.
What was that?
It was Spielberg is littering so much of his own, so many of his own flourishes in other movies. I'm expecting Dennis Weaver to be chased by a killer truck.
Oh, that was Chris.
Yes, love a dual reference.
I thought you said Jewel, so you said duel. Now I'm
sorry,
yes.
duel.
No, you're fine. No, yeah, that was definitely Chris. No, but that was hilarious. Yeah,
I love it. It's great. The British find it amusing to inspect us at their convenience, and the sin is just the British. Of course, had to mention that. I'm glad you guys sinned Indy saving his hat, because for me, that's what takes this movie out of being kind of exaggerated but still kind of almost believable into a cartoon. Like, there is no way he is risking his fucking right arm to rescue his hat from a stone that will absolutely rip off his arm. It's a little bit cartoony. And of course, is this guy everything everywhere all at once? How did he know to be here? Man, you can either force that joke in or you can wait for the perfect moment. And it is the perfect moment because it works even if that movie doesn't exist. That's good.
One of the best. I feel like that's kind of one of the best stories of 2022 is him being in that, because he talks about like how roles like this were why he decided to leave acting for a long time, because this was all he was getting, This was his first role too. So, because Goonies, I guess, was his next year.
No, it's great sin. Love it. Really good video.
I don't think I hate this movie. I think, it was just part of the Indiana Jones experience for me growing up. I will say, I think one of the reasons I like Last Crusade so much was the first Indiana Jones movie I ever saw. So I saw Crusade before Raiders, and I love Crusade so much. And Temple of Doom was always just, the worst Indiana Jones movie, but it's still an Indiana Jones movie, kind of thing.
Is it still the worst for you?
No.
I want to hear I've never met someone that really liked Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and those people have to be out there.
It's so forced. And
what movie are we talking about?
Yeah, right, the one that doesn't exist. My friends and I growing up always did the Kalima,
yeah.
And pretended to tear each other's hearts out, as children do when they see.
I forgot to mention too, that actor who I think this might have been his only American film, but he had a shit ton of other films he had done. I think maybe in India, but I don't remember for a fact, but another country. And he's very I like that. He has a very good presence as a villain. He's very scary. Even as an adult, I'm like, that's cool. But that also kind of feels Bond like Ian was saying.
Absolutely does. You guys mentioned most of the stuff I had written down. I did want to mention, I don't know if you guys know this, but this guy is evil. I thought that was that was really funny. And then we mentioned this concept, but the sin is so kidnapping him and putting him in my adventures was the only natural thing to do. Really
God, that relationship is so weird.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know why nobody why Lucas didn't say, okay, this is weird the way I wrote this. Maybe I should
Lucas
just change
doesn't give a good
things.
goddamn about how he writes things.
Like give that kid his own room at the temple or something. I don't know.
Let's move on to Dinosaur. This was an Atkinson Hughes script. Danae and Chris writing on this. We do have some words from Danae, who says, Dinosaur was an interesting experience for me because I wasn't expected to write on it. I realized a few things. One, I didn't know enough about dinosaurs to send them. And two, whether or not they are cold-blooded is highly debated, which I find interesting.
That is interesting.
Danae then follows up by saying, this movie is horny. This movie asks us to believe that the age-ending meteor only impacted some things. This movie is pretty straightforward. Dino moves from point A to point B with shirt going down in between. This movie asks us to believe that Aladar is the hero because he believes in working together and that the bad dinosaurs are either apex predators that don't talk or dinosaurs that believe the weak are holding them back. I've thought about that too much at this point and ultimately think that the real message is that stubbornness to change and adapt is the enemy of this movie. The biggest sin of this movie is one I couldn't quite articulate. Essentially, the herd is stuck on their journey to paradise, and after stopping at a dried-up watering hole, are told that paradise is only a couple of days away and they need to press on. Pretty quickly, Aladar and the slower dinosaurs and horny lemurs all go into a cave, and eventually the cave opens up to paradise. But when they realize the rest of the herd can't get in, Aladar goes back through the cave to go around and get them, meaning Aladar basically goes 2 days back to the cave opening, then 2 days around to the herd. The movie never addresses the time discrepancy because it doesn't give a shirt. I think the most interesting part of this movie is looking at the CGI and how it holds up today. They shot real landscapes and put the CGI over it, then clearly muted down the coloring so the CGI didn't stand out like a sore thumb. I think if I had liked dinosaurs as a kid and if I went to the movies to watch this on the big screen, this would have been super cool at the time. Now, though, the silly sexual references and simplified message of community aren't enough to hold anyone's attention. So, yeah, some thoughts on Dinosaur from Danae. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on this movie and this video?
I saw this when it came out. I like, we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show. We might be talking about it a little later, too. I like dinosaurs in film. Like, I typically, like, that interests me immediately.
Mm-hmm.
This, and even in, like, fiction, like, I read a lot of books that involve, like, you know, dinosaurs and stuff. But I don't know. This movie, I don't remember much about it. Even when I was watching the video, I was like, yeah, I just kind of remember it being okay. I remember thinking at the time, like, it, you know, it's not as good as Land Before Time, which is kind of the one I compare it to because that's another animated movie and all that stuff. So I didn't have a lot of memory of the movie. The video was really funny. My favorite by far was at the end when the movie says, one thing's for certain, our journey's not over. And then Jeremy just says, oh, it's over.
Yes.
As is the directing career of the poor individual that directed this film. He went straight back into just animating.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Only feature.
Yeah, because I don't think this was like a hit, was it? Or not, at least not a big hit or anything. I don't know. Maybe it did okay. The line in the movie is in the morning we'll climb it. I'm sure Danae wrote this sin. The sin, it sounds like Kron thinks he's Werner Herzog directing Fitzcarraldo. I'm sure that was Danae.
It's got Danae written all over it.
And then I just like playing favorites with your unhatched eggs.
That was funny.
Super funny. But yeah, no, it's a great video. Movies just, I just remember it being kind of dull. But
yeah, me too. I guess I'll go next. I liked this movie enough. I don't know. Like, I like dinosaurs, and so it was, you know, kind of interesting to see. Dinosaurs are an interesting thing for me because I think they are one of the things that puts the most emphasis on the scientific method and the scientific discovery and kind of how that works, right? Because it's this creature that we only know exists because we put the pieces together, right? So,
Yes.
So there's this beautiful thing about dinosaurs, and I think this is the reason a lot of people are drawn to the idea of them, is that, okay, we're solving a puzzle understanding these things. So when you watch a movie, you go into it understanding how science works, right? That this is an idea of what this puzzle, the best we can tell, how it's solved. What's really interesting about that is you watch how dinosaurs are portrayed through film through the years. It changes because the scientific process goes, hey, new clue, let's kind of recontextualize this and kind of figure out, did dinosaurs have feathers? I think maybe dinosaurs had feathers now. So you watch a movie like this, or in the moment you go, oh, this is the current understanding in many ways of what these creatures possibly were and they looked like. I don't know. There's something really interesting to me about the science of it all. And it just seems to me to be one of kind of the best examples of how the scientific, process and discovery works and how it changes. And I think that's beautiful. I really, really love that. So
I think the movies have also created like what are our favorites, like, because like, I mean, I don't have a lot of knowledge of like I don't get into like the history of it. Like I don't read the science of it and stuff. I just see the movies. So like, we know what Tyrannosaurus Rexes are mainly because that's the one that most movies use as like the big bad or whatever. And then of course Spielberg made Velociraptors look scary as hell. So now we know about Velociraptors. But before 1993, I'd never heard of a Velociraptor,
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting how things kind of, what you were saying and all that.
How things shift and change, and how like a bone that was this. Listen, I'm just making this up from vague memories of a story that I heard. I'd have to look it up to know exactly the case. But like a bone was in the wrong, animal. Like a bone from a different dinosaur was in like the T-Rex, or whatever. And it's like, no, actually, this may go to a completely different, like that kind of stuff. Fascinates
this animal
me.
ate that animal. That's why the bone was there.
That's right. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So I really dig that. It is both an example of why science is so special, and also that science is always changing. And like there's this tendency to go, to the extremes either way, where it's like, this is what science believes, and so it must be true, which that's not how science works. This is what science believes, so this is where we are right now to believe what is true. Like,
until that changes.
Until that changes, this is what's true, and it's just, I find that really, really interesting.
That'd be crazy if one day they're just like, by the way, we were wrong about gravity.
It might be.
We are. We 100% are wrong about gravity.
So
wait, hold on, what?
No, we are like, as in we don't know everything about it yet.
correct.
Like,
Yeah,
we're
we
wrong as
absolutely
in
don't.
there are gaps.
Right, yeah. So anyhow, all that to say, Dinosaur is a fine movie. So the sense that I enjoyed, there must be some Disney executive who adds fart, poop, or pee jokes to a movie and insists that it adds an extra $10 million to the box office take. I thought that was really funny. When I was told to watch this movie, I would have never imagined that 78% of the runtime is dedicated to lemur foreplay.
Right.
Beautiful.
A lot of lemurs in this movie.
And then one of just a beautiful cliche sim, because it is such a cliche and it's worded really well. Male shows proficiency with kids in front of the female, and now the female wants to do him. Cliche. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Dinosaur. Ian, I think we haven't heard from you yet.
Man, screw you, Aaron, because you legit stole my entire discussion. Like, I was going to link this back to how much dinosaurs were my nerddom when I was growing up.
Yeah.
How it links back to science being so incredible, and how like dinosaurs were the thing that got me into science, because there's no way we know about these things unless we're digging it up, putting the puzzle pieces together. And that changes in our lifetime. Like, dinosaurs being most likely covered in feathers is a thing we know in the last decade. Like, I was amazed the new Jurassic Park films didn't lean into that a little bit more and weren't a bit brave with, actually, they're covered in feathers. We just got the genes wrong.
Why do they keep creating... Like, that's one thing about Jurassic Park movies that kills me. There are so many dinosaurs that we've never seen on film.
Yes, because they don't care.
And they just keep creating new ones, made up stuff.
They care about Chris Pratt more than they care about factually accurate dinosaurs.
Well, we all care more about Chris Pratt.
No, we don't.
I know. That was obviously a joke.
But yeah, just, man, it's science, man. If you burn every single science textbook in the entire world and get rid of all of it, in 100 years it'll be back, because it's there. It's not something we've made up or invented. If you keep doing science, then you'll end up making the same discoveries and learn more and more and more and more.
Awesome.
All that to say, Dinosaurs is a perfectly fine movie. Yeah, go on.
No. You know me. I want to get further into these discussions, but it always interests me that people see religion and science as like opposites in like fighting each other when they both rely on the idea of absolute truth so much. Like it's one of those things, because you mentioned the idea that 100 years from now you'll discover it again. Why? Because it's true. Because there is a foundation of absolute truth to the world around us. So it's just it always baffles me a little bit that we pit religion and science against each other. Well, let's be fair. Religion pits itself against science in so many
I was
ways.
going to say,
but it's
I have a story to prove that.
no. There are stories littered through history to prove that nobody needs to prove that. But in my mind, I'm always going, guys. There is a foundational way that the idea of religion and science are similar, which is the idea that truth exists and we should try to find it, which is really interesting.
For me, the big difference is that science is using science to find it and religion is't. Like that's my big argument where it's a false
Bad
equivalency.
Religion isn't, but yes.
I'm staying
It's a
out of
false
this.
equivalency.
Hey, Bad Religion is a really good band. You do not make fun of them. Ian, this story will kill you really quick. Sorry, but like when I was in 6th or 7th grade, I went to a religious-based school for K through 12, and our science teacher told us that she did not believe dinosaurs existed because they're not in the Bible. That was a science lesson I got in like 1985.
Well, and that's the beauty of science.
God put the bones in the ground to give us something to do 5,000 years ago.
Some massive effort.
I will say, to be fair, I don't remember her saying we should believe that. She was just giving her own personal opinion, and she taught. But it's still like what I think. I that is never going to not be an insane thing to me. Like I'm just like, how is that person teaching?
Right. And the beauty is science doesn't care. Like science doesn't care. It doesn't need belief. And it's like, well, I always get asked, like, what do you believe in? It's like, fortunately, I don't need to believe in anything because it's there. And
Who is that from Peep Show? Is it David Mitchell?
David
is that
Mitchell.
his name?
Yeah.
That great Graham. Everybody look this up. There's that great thing when he was on Graham Norton talking about Flat Earth Society.
Yes.
And he's like, we know that the Earth is round because they sent a fucking rocket up in the air and they took a goddamn photograph.
Yep. So we know it's not a discussion. So this movie came out when I was 10. I should have watched it. I missed it. Totally didn't know this movie existed until it was on the schedule, and I was like, Is Chris just putting a placeholder in? Like this, I didn't realize that was the name of the movie.
I'm going to do a dinosaur movie.
Exactly. It's like Jurassic World is coming out. We need dinosaurs. And I was like, well, I guess I'll send him some suggestions. But no, it turns out Dinosaurs is a movie. And yeah, it seems very bland. It just seems perfectly normal. It's kind of like a showcase for the technology, it feels like, rather than a groundbreaking story movie as such. But the sins were great. Didn't realize how this movie was so horny. That's incredible to me. The lemurs are explicitly there to show how sex works, apparently, and how mating rituals don't. And I loved the bleep swearing at the very, very end of this is what what the dinosaurs were actually saying, but Disney didn't have the balls to say, and just the slew of beep, beep, you son of a beep is always going to be funny to me.
There you go. That is a look at Dinosaur. Let's move into the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We'll each pick a comment from last week's content in the various places you reach out: Discord, YouTube, Reddit, etc. I think I'm going to start and say one place that I don't go enough, that I should go more, is the comments on the CinemaSins.
Oh, I thought you were going to say outdoors.
That is probably true as well. Actually, I go outdoors a lot because I run every day, but I don't like the outdoors, so it's always a pain. No, the CinemaSins Podcast Network YouTube channel. So all of our podcasts are uploaded to the YouTube channel, and there are comments there, people just commenting on the specific episodes, and I wanted to bring a couple of those to our attention. I'll start with this one, Ian. This comes from the last episode. Spee says, "Hey, Ian, fellow non-burper. Thinking about getting the injection. Hope all goes well." So, yeah. So I wonder if they'll follow up.
I need to head over there. Please do.
Yeah, Spee, follow up with your progress and your journey. I'm sure Ian would love to kind of know how it goes for you.
Genuinely, this is so surreal. This is so strange. I'm part of a community. It's so weird.
Then Denise says, that dog barking in the background of Danae's segment intro, is that her dog? Pretty sure the recording is from the survey reminder she did where her dogs didn't let her talk back during the summer. Great catch, Denise.
Yeah.
Great catch. That is exactly where that's from. So well done.
That was so funny when she sent that over that day. I remember. She was like, I think I'm just going to keep it. And then we were listening to her like, hell yeah, keep that.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
Go get the survey.
And then I did want to mention that we did a joke about having actually being trademarked, and his Sofer says actually is already trademarked by the game show actually. So I thought that was clever as well.
Nice.
Ian, why don't you go next?
I have two. One was from the Moon Knight video of Ron Foster. Of course, the opening credits for Moon Knight didn't include Moon Knight. I mean, the Moon Knight show did the best it did to not include any Moon Knight.
Nice.
I just love the subtle burn on that.
It's like it should have been called The Book of Moon Knight.
It really
is what
should have
we're
done.
saying.
That's right. Exactly.
I forgot to grab the commenter that left this one, but this is from Dinosaur. Let's give a round of applause to the camera person who somehow went back in time to film these dinosaurs and not get eaten or mess up the space-time continuum in the process. Props to that gentle person.
Awesome.
Well done.
Awesome. Jonathan, what about you?
Going back to what Ian was saying about the lack of Moon Knight, though, something that would be hilarious that Disney would never do, but it would be so funny, is if in like even the Marvel shows, there was just one random episode where it was just about the Mandalorian.
Yes. It should. I'm expecting
I might find a way to work that into an outtake in the future, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
That's amazing.
That would just be amazing. Like, it's just a shot of a door and then the Mandalorian comes through it. And you're like, I thought this was Miss Marvel. Like, I'm so confused. I don't want. I'm concerned. I have a couple that I'm kind of concerned I might be taking. I don't know. Did you do any nitpicking from Indiana Jones?
Yeah, I've got 4, so I've got plenty to pick from, so go ahead.
Well, I don't know that this would be one, so I'll read this one. It's Oracles and Enchantment. There was a lot of like kind of nice comments. The first few comments on Indiana Jones were kind of nice, where it was just like people kind of sharing stories that contradicted what we said, but like it was more like, I'm sure you didn't know this, but here's an example of blah blah blah. It was just kind of nice. Oracles and Enchantment said, I was pulling because there's a sin where we talk about how Willie Scott thinks she's like holding her laundry, and she's actually holding like a giant bat, and she like pulls it up, and I'm doing visuals on a podcast for some reason. But Oracles and Enchantment said, I was pulling Spanish moss out of a tree in Florida for a fire we were going to have when I felt something soft and fuzzy in my hands. Yes, it was a bat. I'm not sure which of us was more upset. Apparently, ladies manhandling bats on accident is not as rare as you would think. And then she's got a bunch of laughing emojis. I screamed, the bat screamed, and flew out of my hands. And now I am much more careful when gathering materials in the wild. That is an amazing story.
Bat screams are terrifying, man.
Oh, they are. They really are.
It's the beautiful thing about the comments, isn't it? There's going to be at least one person that has that story that we're sinning. It's beautiful.
But
so
they're
great.
also not telling us we're dumb or anything.
No,
like
exactly.
they're actually
you guys are assholes. Did you not know that in 1989 I did this same thing? Sorry, no, I did not know that.
I bet that was terrifying, though. That would have scarred me for life, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. We ready to move on then?
Let's do it.
We'll head on to nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers.
But we wouldn't want to nitpick, right, Danny?
Pick a little, talk a little, pick a little, talk a little, cheep, 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 talk a lot, pick a little more. Actually.
Oops. What do you mean, oops?
Missed it by that much.
Am I just going to nitpick everyone until they leave me?
Ian takes a look at some actuallys from the comments, and we decide together if the commenter was green, yellow, or red.
We should trademark that.
We should.
We've had a cease and desist letter come in, so you now actually have to say
Right.
That would be amazing.
Actually.
Chris is like, guys, I don't know what you're doing, but I got this letter.
We got a cease and desist letter from a game show. Okay, so there's 2 from Indiana Jones, predictably. One of them was extremely rude. The other one, there were 2 people that left comments about the same point. One of them presented it very nicely. One of them presented it very rudely. I've gone with the nice one. And
It's just about the raft.
the gist of it is, why does the shaman tell Indy about the temple, and why does he think that Indy is the one to save the day? And this gentle person said, the old man's faith in Indy. He was there waiting for his arrival by the river. Remember, he said he prayed to Shiva to send help. And the old man had faith, and apparently he was right. And the other person was just like, "You assholes! Did you not see the movie?" So apparently,
what was the sin again?
So
That's
the
what I'm trying
sin
to
is that why is the shaman even talking to Indy about the temple and what's going on? Why would he think that Indy gives a crap? And it's apparently, I can't remember, but the scene before the shaman is praying to Shiva and associates Indy's arrival with that prayer.
I'm still kind of on a yellow there because he could have mentioned that could have been mentioned somehow. I don't know. I don't think that scene's a lot of exposition. That's all the whole point of that scene. So
yeah, I think it makes it argumentative. So I probably go with green.
Yeah, fair enough. Indy. So this was, I think, the sin was questioning why did the bad guys dig such deep mines to find this diamond rock, whatever it was they were finding. And the commenter said, my impression, and a few commenters said this, my impression was always that the mine tunnels were already there and had been dug by previous people that were mining, and that the bad guys were just living in the mines and using them and hadn't dug them themselves.
You do see them doing things though, but I guess there's no way for us to know if they actually dug them. But I mean, you do see them working on stuff, so I don't know.
No, because that's like all mine equipment, and it's not like if they were responsible for building them, I don't know. I would think it would just look more tunnely and less like an actual mine. Am I wrong?
Maybe.
No, I think that's agreeing. I think the commenter's right. From Dinosaur, this was fascinating to me. So many people said this. Do we think it's the wrong meteor? Like, was this just a random meteor and not the world-ending meteor? Like, is it ever specified which meteor this is? Because the biggest plot hole is that this meteor didn't kill the dinosaurs, but was it ever supposed to be the one that killed the dinosaurs?
There will be a meteor, and that'll do the job. Yeah.
And then Pizza Hut will copyright it, or Domino's, or whoever. But
that's an interesting thought.
Because I haven't seen the whole movie.
Yeah, that could certainly be argued. That this wasn't the be all end all, but it was just a moment. Yeah,
just a local one that was more devastating.
Yeah.
And then my favourite one of the week is it's where the commenter says, "Weird how you emphasised that there are only 3 movies in this series. Everyone knows that there are only 3 in the Indiana Jones series. Why would you make a joke out of there only being 3?" And I completely agree. I don't know why you guys put so much emphasis. It's just not a funny joke when there are only 3 films.
Yeah, that was really weird of us. I don't know why we did that.
Why? Yeah, that's very strange.
Very strange.
I mean,
weird thing to emphasize.
It is. It very much is.
I'm looking forward to the Indiana Jones Christmas special myself. So, holiday special.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
that'll be a lot of fun. We're bringing it back, guys. For 1 week, let's take a look beyond the sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We each take a look at something else going on in the world of pop culture that we have experienced. And Ian's going to kick us off. What have you seen recently?
Aaron is going to be absolutely sick of me talking about this, but it is Love, Death and Robots. And this is completely selfish. I want to use whatever reach we have to make sure more people are watching it so that I get more episodes. I love this show, and it's one of the beautiful things about anthology series is that if you don't like all of it, there's probably going to be something in there you like. So if you've never heard of the show, it is an anthology series on Netflix, and it's definitely R-rated, but different animation houses are given an amount of money to make something that they want to make, and they can take a story from folklore, as long as it has some kind of sci-fi stint. They all tend to have a sci-fi element to them, and it's just brilliant. Season 1 was amazing. Season 2 was okay. It was a watchable. Season 3, I think, is my favourite. They vary from 7 to 21 minutes, and they'll take place like in space, in the ocean, on land, in the future, in the past. It is such a good mix of stories and animation styles, heartfelt stuff to just comedy to what the fuck. It's brilliant. Love this show so much.
I really need to watch this. It's Fincher too, right? Isn't Fincher behind it, or has something to do with it? Like he's a producer or something?
Yeah, he's on. Sounds right. Yeah. But it's high recommend. Out of 35 episodes, you'll like something.
Yeah, it's a beautiful anthology, right? Like, You know, it is modern day heavy metal, right? Like this is the idea of the heavy metal movie where it's like,
but good.
I mean, like,
Fair.
you've got some
Heavy
proper
metal's not
names
good.
on it as well, like David Fincher, Tim Miller. There are real big directors that are getting
Tim Miller
involved
is
as well.
Deadpool. Is that
Correct. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I have watched all 3 seasons. I have really enjoyed it. You know, there are a few standouts where I'm like, oh, that is beautiful, interesting, and meaningful. Not all of them are. In fact, most of them probably don't hit all 3 of those things. Most of them hit beautiful. Like it's incredible. Even the ones that are kind of different styles of even more like stripped down animation, they're still really interesting to look at. And I think, you know, it's just this really great opportunity and breeding ground for the idea of short form adult animation. And when I say that, I guess it's, you know, bears mentioning that, you know, the idea of love, death, and robots is sex, violence, and sci-fi. That's basically what this show is sex, violence, and sci-fi. And it's explicit in some of the sex, violence in sci-fi. So probably worth mentioning. But yeah, it's an incredible 3 seasons of content. So yeah.
It's incredible.
Let's see. Jonathan, why don't you go next?
I'm going to talk about this show called The Pentaverate.
Listen, if you hadn't made that joke, I was going to make it. So yeah.
I'm sorry. I went and saw this movie, I guess it'll be 2 weeks ago from when this is released, but it was from when we're recording, it was just this past weekend. And it is called Watcher. It is in limited release right now, but it is going to be on Shudder at some point because it has the Shudder logo on it when you go see it in the theater. This is a movie. It's a like a mystery thriller. I would say forefront. Micah Monroe plays. Well, I would say like the bare. It's interesting because when I watched the movie, like just the bare bones plot of it is something like you've definitely seen before. It's you've got Micah Monroe from all of a sudden It Follows and The Guest and I guess Independence Day Resurgence if you saw that. But she plays a character who thinks that she's being stalked and is like there's like a guy she thinks she's being stalked. No one believes her. And then, you know, you get to the end where there's all these reveals and stuff, right? So like we've seen that like a million times. And I will say after I watched it, I was like, that was good, but I feel like I've seen it before. But then since then, like the last few days, like it's really stuck with me. And it's really become something that I think I actually do like quite a bit. Like I definitely liked it, but like I think I'm even higher on it now, a few days out. This is a directorial debut of Chloe Okuno. I hope I pronounced that right. The only other feature thing she's done was she did a segment, and I think that it was the last VHS movie. I don't know those movies very well, but I think it was VHS 94, so I think that was the last one they did. But anyways, she does a really good job. This movie really is like, I think Hitchcockian gets thrown around way too much, and it gets thrown around with things that don't make sense. Like people were talking about it with like Get Out. Like I still don't know how people thought Get Out felt like a Hitchcock movie, but whatever. But this really does like, and it kind of has that Rear Window aspect to it anyways, because the whole plot, when it first starts, she's at her apartment. She keeps thinking every time she looks out the window, there's a guy staring at her. From the apartment across the street. But what this movie really gets at is that it really delves into just women being stalked and then not being believed when they go to like their husband or the police or whatever. It really digs into that. Similar kind of in a much more mainstream way, but similar to Men, which came out a few weeks ago, the new Alex Garland movie. I think this one works better for me than Men. It is definitely more mainstream, but like I don't know. I find this one, Men just didn't connect with me for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because a female is behind this. Maybe that's why it hits me a little stronger than it normally would. But it's not even the stalking stuff. Like there's a scene early on where she gets the whole thing is that they've moved to Bucharest. Because her husband has accepted a job there, and he's like his family's Romanian. He knows the language. He knows the city pretty well. She knows nothing, and she's stuck at home. She's stuck in their apartment all day while he's at work. And the first night they're there, she asks him to wake her up when he gets up, just before he leaves. And then she wakes up in the next scene and it's like maybe mid-afternoon or something. And then there's a picture that he texted her. He took a picture of her in her sleep and he just said something like, you were too cute to wake up. And I didn't really think much about that scene at first, but then I heard another podcaster talking about that. And it is kind of one of those things, like it seems like such a little thing, but it's also, you're just kind of like, why didn't he just fucking wake her up? Like, why? I mean, it's one of those things. Like when I pull back from it and think about it, I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like if my wife asked me to wake her up, I would wake her up. Like,
Right.
If she told me she wanted to go back to sleep.
There's it's very patronizing. There's an infantilization to it. Like, I know better than you. I'm going to let you sleep because you look so adorable. And, you need to keep looking adorable.
Yeah, and like that's going to be like a benefit for him. The fact that he did that, like it was such a nice gesture, and
Right.
it's weird. So the movie, it's not even just this, and there's also the other thing that's kind of a thing in this movie is that there's a serial killer called the Spider that's been decapitating women. So she's terrified that the person stalking her might be that killer and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's. I don't want to talk too much about it. I don't want to talk too much more about it because I don't want to give anything away. But Micah Monroe is excellent. I've always thought she was good. This is probably my favorite performance of hers so far because if she doesn't work, this movie doesn't work. It's very different tone, but it kind of reminded me of like Jessica Roth in the Happy Death Day movies where it's just like everything is centered around her. So she's got to give a hell of a performance to make any of this work, and she does. It's a pretty high recommend for me. It's called Watcher, and like I said, it's in limited release, so I don't know how many cities it's in, but it is going to be on Shudder.
Nice.
Probably before the end of the summer and the fall. So it will be available soon, I hope.
Cool. I'm going to talk about Jurassic World Dominion. Right? Is that what it's called?
I think so. Yeah, that's right.
Whatever.
Or I could talk about Top Gun Maverick, if you prefer.
No, because I'm going to say Maverick. So yeah, do get Jurassic Park out of the way.
I do find it interesting, and really the only reason I wanted to talk about this is I find it kind of interesting how we have back-to-back examples of how to do a Lego sequel right and how to do it wrong. And Jurassic World does this so wrong, and I will talk about this more on Sif Pop this weekend. If you listen to the Sif Pop podcast, I'll go into further detail, but I will just say this about Jurassic World Dominion, the final one of these. It is so caught up in references and doing the same thing that other movies have done that it gets so annoying so fast. And part of that is that there's not a lot going on beyond that makes any kind of sense, in this world. But this is one of those Lego sequels that's like, hey, let's make sure this character takes their glasses off exactly the same way they did in the first one. And it's just like, I see the sweat and energy in you trying to milk my nostalgia. And it gets really annoying to me.
Is Jeff Goldblum just randomly laying back with his shirt unbuttoned?
There is absolutely a Jeff Goldblum shirt unbuttoned joke in this movie because of course there is. Like, name a reference. The movie's like, gotta force one of those in there.
This would have been this. I'm going to go see this because I'm just curious. But this will be weird I would think this would be weirder if it did work because the foundation that it's built on is kind of choppy, anyways. The first Jurassic World is fine. Like, I like that better than most people. I think you like it too.
I do. Yes.
I think there's enough, and I think the nostalgia stuff in that is more fun for me. Like her getting the I'm sorry, but her getting the T-Rex out of the cage, as silly as all that is, like that's a moment that sticks with me.
Right.
And then you've got the T-Rex and the Velociraptor fighting the new creation or whatever. But the last one was not good. And
this is better than the last one. Even as bad as this one is, I do think it's better than Fallen Kingdom because at least it's Fallen Kingdom doesn't go anywhere, man. I don't know what that movie is doing other than trying to give us some scares, which, it was more.
It's a haunted house movie.
It is a haunted house
dinosaurs.
movie. It's absolutely bizarre. A haunted house movie. It's very strange. Yes, my very brief opinion is don't expect much out of Dominion. Maybe you'll enjoy some of the dinosaur stuff. There are dinosaurs with feathers in this one, so, yay.
I don't love any of the sequels, though. Jurassic Park's stuck with me, and it's one of my favorite movies. And there are parts of the sequels that I enjoy, but I can't really say that like I genuinely really like any of them.
Yeah.
I know like there's moments in Lost World, there's moments in Jurassic Park 3, there's moments in Jurassic World, and there's not really anything in Fallen Kingdom. But
there's moments. There are a couple moments that are just like, oh, that's cool.
And I like the attempt. I like the idea, like, hey, let's make a haunted house movie with dinosaurs. Like, I'm down with that because it's different. But then they just didn't do anything interesting with it, as far as I was concerned. I know that movie has its fans.
You're absolutely right. There hasn't been a good Jurassic Park sequel overall. It's just a sporadic spraying of good moments or fun things to watch, which is unfortunate. And I think that's unfortunate, but so be it. So be it.
It sucks too, because I love the idea of the dinosaurs just being loose in the world. Mm-hmm. I love that idea.
Yeah,
but
conceptually, there's interesting things happening. The problem is there's no structure underneath the concept to deliver any kind of momentum to what I'm supposed to care about and why these, why these characters are interesting. So,
and I'm starting to think Colin. Is it
Trevorrow? Trevorrow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to think he didn't actually direct Safety Not Guaranteed. I don't understand how that fucking brilliant movie was made by him. And then
because lots of people make movies.
I heard an interesting story about that. He was on a podcast talking about that though, and how they had already sent the movie to Sundance, Safety Not Guaranteed. And then he decided on a whim to change the ending. And he had to get permission from Sundance to do it because they had already viewed it and they had already approved it. But thankfully they said yes, because the ending of that movie is just like chef's kiss. So
that's great.
But then it doesn't make any sense. Book of Henry, like I don't understand what happened after Safety Not Guaranteed.
Jurassic World Dominion's in theaters. Watcher is also in limited release in theaters, but should be on Shudder soon. And Love, Death, and Robots, currently available on Netflix, where you can also watch The Pentaverate. That's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. If you've got anything you want to send us, you can mail it to us at P.O. Box 881 Republic, Missouri 65738. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. He is at Wits End.
Oh, at WHJohnnyTCSINNED.
I only let you spell it because Wits End, most people will think WITSEND, right?
No,
but it's
my issue is you only let me spell it when Danae isn't here. That's my gripe.
That's right.
I thought it was WHIDD.
Yes, I think it is. Widsend.
SINNET.
Yes, strangely enough.
And I'm going to be at Pentaverant fan. So.
He is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Ian Whittington, Jonathan Watkins, the lesser Stephen Grant, and myself, we will see you next week.
Happy National Dump the Pump Day.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com and be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
I have recently opened the TikTok app a couple times.
Oh dear.
And it's such a time suck. I hate it so much. I
lost 45 minutes this morning in bed.
Rookie. Yeah, I'm sure I've stayed up an extra hour just because I'm scrolling through TikTok. It's fascinating. It's the TikTok live stuff it blows my mind. Like I'm just like.
So there is a TikTok live of a man who is maybe genuinely or not trying to sleep, and behind him there is a wall. And if depending on what you gift or subscribe or whatever, it wakes him up so that he can't sleep.
Yes.
And this guy, he's either he's Daniel Day-Lewis levels of good actor, or he's actually being tortured because he just looks like he wants to sleep. And whenever something wakes him up, it looks like he's going to cry. And like people are doing this. It's like the experiment where like, hey, you like give an electric shock to this person and they'll never know.
That's his nap time. He actually gets 8 hours of sleep when he's not on TikTok. Like this, this is his work time. He's acting. It's his work time.
I have to believe that. Either way, we are terrible people. Me for watching, and the people that are gifting as well.
There was one where it was like this robot mini golf thing, where if you donated a certain amount, you could control the putt and try to win stuff. I just like TikTok Live blows. And then, of course, interspersed into there, you've got all the women promoting their OnlyFans.
Of course.
They're like as close to being nude as possible. And then saying, hey, check my Instagram for my links. It's like, what is this world? Why? What is this world?
And then, ironically, on like their OnlyFans, they're advertising their TikTok, and then it's like down below for the links to go to my TikTok.
I've thought about doing a book review channel on TikTok because that's a big thing right now.
Oh, do it, dude.
Just to see if I could get free books.
Yes. It's a great.
I don't even care
idea.
if I make money. I'm just curious if publishers will send me books.
They will, man. If you get an audience, they will definitely send you books.
But I don't want to be on it. Like I'm not. I see my daughter on it, and I'm just like, oh, no, I'm not spending all day doing that. That's why I don't play video games either, because video games suck time away from me that I'm pissed off when I'm done.
Recently bought my first game system in, I'm going to say 10 years. Probably the last game system I bought for myself was probably the GameCube. I'm going to say
10 years? That's 20 years.
Okay,
dude.
20 years. Listen, time has no meaning when you're my age.
The GameCube is like 99.
The last video game system I remember buying was painting on cave walls. I don't know how long ago that was, but
good. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We've been doing some. How many people did we have playing Mario Kart? Did we have a five-way?
Yeah, we had a five-way online race going. Which honestly, the
awesome.
technology
People
to do that is so fun. Like, I'm just glad games have kind of gotten to the place where, like, Ian, you can be in England and we're all over here in Missouri and we're racing against each other in real time. Like, the lag is, and it's not like we all have like
it's non-existent,
super stellar internet connections. We've just got broadband, and that does it.
That's cool, but I don't. And this is an old man thing. I don't like the three-dimensional aspect. Like I like the
platform thing,
and I'm shooting things like the first Super Mario Brothers, like or Metroid or whatever.
I'm walking left to right, and I'm jumping, and I'm possibly
jumping.
I can't, the 3D thing. Just I don't know if it's my vertigo kicks in or what, but I don't enjoy it. Like
that's interesting.
I get all messed up, and I don't know which way, and I always go the wrong way. Especially if I have to drive. I tried to play one of the. What's the big where you can like run over hookers? What's that game?
Grand Theft Auto.
Which one?
You maybe want to go back and watch that. I love that first season of Broadchurch. I think even knowing the outcome, I'd still really enjoy it because the acting in that is so good. And that was the first time. That was not the. I don't think that was. I don't watch Doctor Who, but I still don't think that was the first time. Because did that come out? I think Fright Night was the first time I saw.
That would have been after
what's
this.
his name?
Yeah,
okay.
Broadchurch was 2013.
Well, I might have watched Broadchurch after that fair. because it came on BBC America like a year or two later or something.
Yeah, they tested it in England first and then sent it to you guys.
What David Tennant? I couldn't think of that fucking name, David Tennant. But I feel like I knew him. I had never seen Jodie Whittaker before. I don't think I definitely knew. What's the main actress?
Olivia Colman
in Broadchurch. I definitely knew her because she was in Hot Fuzz.
Yes, she is.
She's the one that's like, what do you mean murder? Yes. I think that's her. I think
you're right.
What an interesting career, Olivia Colman, right?
She has got, she's a great actor, but she has a great,
does she have 2
project
Oscars?
picker as well. Yeah, I think she
just
does.
one. She's just got the one.
Just the one. Ton of BAFTAs, I think.
I think she just has the one she's won. She's been nominated at least twice.
She's incredible.
Have you ever watched Jim and Andy, the documentary on...
no, I think you might have... Has that been fairly recent? Because I feel like you recommended that on here.
Maybe 5. Again, time has no meaning these days, but like
maybe not.
Maybe 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. I can't remember. I'll look it up. But I highly recommend it. I think I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan. This is not a surprise. I love so much of what he's done on stage. In the entire production of that movie, Carrey, because he's being Kaufman. And he's doing the silly, what's it called, method acting thing where he's like Kaufman day and night. I guess but I would waffle back and forth. I'd be like, yeah, but if there's a role where you're going to do method acting, Kaufman is a really interesting one to do that because he himself basically was an actor his entire life. Like everything he did was a performance or a prank or like how much of Kaufman's real life was just trolling people, And so it was interesting because I kept waffling back and forth going, no, I see why he's being like this. And then going, no, that's just not okay. You just can't be that way to people on the set or whatever. Like the director of that movie, whose name is slipping my mind.
Milos Forman.
he came out of that traumatized by what Carrie did to him during that movie. So it's a really interesting document to watch. So I highly recommend it. To get back to TikTok before we bring everybody else back in, because I had one more point I wanted to make, having been on it recently again, and just in needing it to go away. It also is possibly, and this may be my get off the lawn moment. I mean, I've had many of them, but this may be another one of them.
Yeah,
because there is of the social media, I think it's the most dangerous, and I'll tell you why. Because it is couched in such a fast and humorous way that some of the extremism that's going on TikTok, and by the way, every fourth or fifth, video I go to is some sort of political extremism, which is really weird to me, but it's couched in comedy though. See, this is the thing.
That is not my TikTok. That's fascinating.
I think you may be unaware of it. Like, I think it's so...
Give me some credit.
No,
I would spot it.
There's not stuff about guns on your TikTok at all?
No.
Okay, my mind was just blown. But
you're
the
a
TikTok
white American living in Missouri, and
maybe
they know
that's
that.
it. Maybe it's geographical.
Exactly it is absolutely geographical. That's the clever thing about TikTok.
But and dangerous, right? Like this. I'm just saying. 100%. It's this thing that is just like this quick hit of adrenal. Stuff, and it's nothing. There's nothing there. It's like living on spoonfuls of sugar. Like all you ate all day was a spoonful of sugar every 5 minutes.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, Ian, SNL has done this a couple of times where they just do a sketch where it's just going through somebody watching TikTok. Yeah. It is amazing.
It's hilarious.
Because the thing you were talking about, the extremists, there's that one. What's that guy? Is it like something Daily? Is that his name? It's one of the cast members. I can't think of his name right now. But anyways, he's like doing like a podcast or something in his TikTok, and he's like, so when we really think about it, the person that's really being, having like racism drawn to and stuff, or is like really being, is a white person. He says something like that, and it's just, and then it just cuts away. I
can't believe
really
you don't
quick.
get that kind of stuff on your TikTok. Like it's so prevalent. SNL is putting it in their TikTok parody. Like it is every fourth TikTok for me is somebody giving their views on something in a comedy or lip syncing to a stand-up comedian who has right wing or extreme left wing views or whatever.
I wouldn't the concept is there, but I wouldn't say that the content is all extreme right wing stuff.
I didn't say all. I said like every fourth or fifth.
It's not that regular for me. No.
It
must just because I'm a very decent human being, Eric.
Yes, I'm sure. TikTok knows that. It's like we shouldn't even try with Ian. Like
Come on, I am pure. All I get is like orphans and like fairies and stuff on mine. It's all really pure.
Mikey Day is that guy's name.
Yes, Mikey Day's great.
I love him. I'm glad he's not leaving because a lot of people left this year.
It happens though. People move on.
I can't believe Keenan's still there. He's just like, I'm good.
He's going to be there forever. I still say, here's my thing with Kenan Thompson. Kenan Thompson should host an episode of SNL every year, even though he's on the cast.
Oh, yeah.
This is my thing.
I agree.
He's been on long enough that they should break through. They've done this before early on. They've had cast members host, like very early on, but it's been a long, long time. But he has been on long enough, has enough characters, can carry the show himself enough that one episode every year, Kenan Thompson should host. As long as he's on the show, and even after he leaves the show. He's that good and that much of a staple to SNL. So, yeah, I've watched every episode of his sitcom.
My wife really dug that. I watched a couple, and then I was going to watch it, but then I heard it got canceled, so I'm like, I'll just, it's kind of
Kenan and Kel?
No, more recent than that. More recent than that.
Okay. Ted Danson is in Saving Private Ryan. Sorry, I watched that the other day, and I was like,
Random Facts with Ian Whittington. Jonathan is back. We do not get
that I went anywhere.
That's right. I mean, you went one place. You went somewhere
I was
once.
Quoting, that was the Nicolas Cage thing in that recent movie where when he was talking to his younger self, and we're like, we're back. Not that we went anywhere.
Yes. The one that is not everything everywhere all at once, but also has
I never remember what it's
like
called.
That.
That's not good. What is it called? A Massive Talent or something?
Yeah, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Yeah.
I liked that.
The unbearable lightness of being massively talented.
There we go.
I think is what that is
It
called.
was a fun movie that could have been more fun.
I think that's right. Let's go this week. Let's discuss things from behind the sins. Let's do.
Just to shake it up a bit.
Just to change it up a little bit.
Man, I didn't prep for that, but I guess we
sorry
can.
about that. Sorry to throw that curveball at the last second. By the way, Ian, a curveball is in a sport called baseball, and the pitcher.
When Ian started talking, I know poker's not a sport, but when Ian started talking about like showing interest in poker, I was like, I'm so confused right now.
Do I not strike you as a poker person?
Well, I find that most poker people are also sports people, so but I'm sure that's not the case. But I think it's more of a gambling thing. I put it together with.
This rolls all the way back into I enjoy single player sports. And poker slips right into
so you like tennis?
Like tennis. I like Formula One, which is a single-person sport. I don't like any combat sports at all, for obvious reasons. You die, and they're dumb. Love snooker.
That's pool,
single-player sport. It's pool.
I mean, it's a version of it, right?
It's pool adjacent.
Yeah.
It's similar to pool. No, I've seen. I don't know that I've played it, but I've seen the tables.
Yeah, it's similar, but actually challenging.
I think it's interesting that you think racing is a single player sport because it kind of
Formula One absolutely is.
Formula One is more than like the other ones, like
I think they all are, but Formula One is one you could describe as a team sport, but it is not. They race for a team, but they are 100% solo, playing for themselves, and I mean it's there's two cups. So there's the manufacturer, the team cup, and the individual racer cup, and there's a reason that the racer cup is front and center. They will shaft their teammates immediately.
Is poker a sport? Discuss.
I mean, what is a sport? Discuss. It depends how you define a sport.
The distinction a lot of people make is physical exertion, right? So this is the distinction that some people make with a sport is athletic. Like there is something athletic going on, physical exertion. But that's interesting because even in like chess or poker or games, which people would put in the category of games, your heart rate goes up. People will sweat. People will burn more calories. Like it's interesting. Like where do you draw that line of physical exertion? Because there are certain like baseball. The right fielder in baseball. Is he playing a sport? Because he just stands there most of the time. You know what I mean?
Not
like
Little League. That's not the case in majors, though.
Well, no, but even in Major League Baseball, it's not as much of an aerobic exertion. Like there are moments of running, there are moments of swinging. So I don't know.
No, I understand. I've heard all these. I've heard all these things. I mean, I think baseball is a sport. But
don't think you're going to get much pushback on that.
No. For me, like it's got nothing to do with the physical element. It's as soon as you have an objective and a way of getting there, then it becomes a sport. It doesn't even have to be competitive.
So Mario Kart is a sport.
100%, absolutely. Esports, like
I think golf is the one that really sits in the center of. Is it a game or is it a sport, right?
Because you need stamina for golf. You absolutely need stamina.
Absolutely. But it does still have, it does, I understand, I think I consider it a sport, but I can kind of see people's viewpoint because it's not basketball, it's not football, it's not like rugby, it's not.
But anytime, I have no problem with intellectual conversations, distinguishing, and then trying to put things in categories. Doesn't bother me. But it turns into gatekeeping so quick that it annoys me, right? Like your thing's not as important as my thing because it's not a sport. Well,
this is another thing. When NHL and NBA playoffs go on at the same time, and you'll see this also in the comments where somebody will be talking about the NBA playoffs. Like, why are you talking about the NBA playoffs? The NHL playoffs are on. It's like, why can't we just like both? Like, why is that?
Or
it's
one
like
or the other.
You can't like two things. Like, you've got to pick one. You got to be on that side. And you've got to cut people down. Because I enjoy both. I'll just depending on the matchup. And
you can't like both. You must pick one.
Not allowed. There's a show on Netflix right now called The Pentaverate. It is a Mike Myers show.
I need to talk to you about this show.
Oh, have you watched it?
I have seen episode 1 and I hated it so much I haven't gone
It's
back.
so bad. It's so bad.
Good.
Is
Thank
it? Oh, that
goodness.
sucks.
But
thank
I've
goodness.
watched.
I'm not watching it
I've
then.
watched the whole thing, and
it continues to be bad.
continues to be terrible.
Good.
But,
Good.
But it's terrible in a way that my mind goes, yeah, but it's Mike Myers, and like he's still like a great character maker. Like all the parts he's playing are still like the voices he's doing are interesting, and like
Yeah, it's an impressive feat, but the jokes are terrible.
Terrible. I will tell you, there is this running gag. It happens twice where he does this thing where the Netflix censors are going to change the scene. And it's some of the most clever. So like they'll do the whole scene. One of them's at this pool hall. And it just sounds like a normal TV scene. And then the Netflix guy will come on and go, we actually can't, do that. So we need to use the family friendly version. And so it'll take out all the swears. But when you take out all the sections with swears, it all sounds so sexually perverse in a different context.
That might be worse.
It's brilliant. Like this show is terrible in so many ways, but like that part alone, I was like, that is some brilliant writing to be able to put all that together.
Is it better than the Love Guru?
I think so. I actually think it is better than the Love Guru.
Such a high
yeah.
bar.
Yeah.
To clear.
Man, we'll probably never talk about the Pentaveret again, but
Never
I can
again,
pinpoint the moment that it lost me. And I've forgotten his last name.
Who?
Keegan. Sorry, Keegan-Michael Key.
I know the moment you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's so Mike Myers though. It is
but
so
it's terrible.
It's
So
terrible
Mike
now.
Myers-
Like in our current
Yes.
in our current context, it is terrible. But there was a time that would slay.
Would have slayed people.
Yeah.
What is it?
the
Is it just
moment-
like a
so
is it
Key
toilet
is-
humor?
Key is almost saving this for me. Like because he's playing himself. It's just he's hilarious. Towards the end, there is a choice that has to be made, and Mike Myers is playing a Russian guy, and there is a pill that he has to take if he's going to continue, and there is a key that he has to choose from. And so this Russian guy says, "You have to pick between the key and the pill." And then
Oh my
he literally
God.
turns to camera and goes, "Really?
Did
Did you just do that?"
He does a fourth wall eye roll. Yeah.
It absolutely does. And I'm like, it lost me. I was like, nope, sorry.
Then it does this other. We'll eventually get back to Behind the Scenes podcast, but then it does this other thing at the end where you find out that the main central character he's playing in this is based on a real life small town journalist from where he grew up in Canada, and he's like in the post credits is him like being interviewed by this guy that he's now, and you can just see like the love and respect he has for this, and like the show says dedicated to like small town journalists the world over or whatever, and it's like there's actually kind of an interesting heart here as well amidst the terribleness. So I don't know, it's a weird one for me. Like I would say if the groaning and the terribleness is going to be too much for you, don't worry about it. But if you can kind of like put up with it and just go, okay, Mike Myers, do your Mike Myers thing, like there's some fun there. I don't know.
I would rather it be good, obviously, but like I'm glad that it sounds like it's not just like somewhere in the middle. Like it goes really overboard.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they are leaving Canada, and just a little bit of a spoiler. They're leaving Canada, and it literally like Canada is in a lower resolution than the rest of the world. So they cross the border into America, and it's in high definition. And this is everything is in high definition in America.
Oh, and then you only watched one episode, so you don't know this, but Jeremy Irons does the opening narration, and the opening narration for each episode is different, and Jeremy Irons is like riffing on him. Like there's some clever stuff here. There's some really clever, interesting stuff here.
Aaron's acting like he likes it. He's like,
maybe I do. It's terrible, but maybe I like it. I don't know. It's wild.
It's okay. Just love things.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, let people love things, I guess. But
Hey, Ian, you know this. No movie or TV show is bad.
No,
If you
not a
listen to,
single
if
one.
you go to Twitter, there are people that tell you that it's everything. A lot of people worked really hard on that.
Halloween
so you shouldn't
Kills.
think it's bad.
It's a good movie. There we go.
it reminds me of the what was it? Was it called? Dana Carvey Become Another Person. Turtle, Master of Disguise. Reminds me of Master of Disguise in that Master of Disguise is a terrible movie, but there's some stuff going on there that's just like gonna be like cult status kind of stuff. Like I feel like the Pentaveret is that kind of project. So, anyways.
We need a new show because this is not behind the scenes anymore.
All right.
God, we just talked about Pentabert for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, we did.
That's awesome.
Longer than Dinosaur.
I don't even know how we got there.
So I think, Ian, were you the last one to talk about Dinosaur?
I'm done. I think we're on the comments.
Are we still talking about Dinosaur?
The boy who lived come to die.